And how you doing, everybody? Vasu Vada party. Get it all set up here. A couple of minutes late on a Monday, July 19th, 2021. Make the Money and Run podcast. To those of you on Facebook and YouTube Live, thanks very much for joining us. Another weekend has gone by of sports, and what a weekend it was. We'll get to the baseball in a minute, but the NBA front and center after Saturday night's game. How about those Milwaukee Bucks? How many of you out there in the audience thought that they were dead after 0-2? Come on, raise your hands. Raise your hands. I can see it right there. All of you that thought that it was going to be dead and Giannis was not going to win a championship did not figure that Phoenix was going to go in and play very badly in games 3 and 4 to get blown out. In fact, all four teams covered their home court through the first 4 games. In fact, all 5 teams did, if I remember right. No, I'm sorry. Milwaukee won on game 5. This is game 6 tomorrow. So 4 straight favorites have covered. And then Milwaukee with the big win on Saturday night, game 5, 123-119. Giannis had a great game. Drew Holiday still not shooting well. Chris Middleton playing better. Don't have the box score in front of me. Let me look at the box score here from game 5 here as we look at it. Just getting things going here on a Monday as we get going here. Big weekend in the NBA. The U.S. Open. The British Open, of course, took place. Colin Morikawa. How about that? 2 Grand Slams in the same calendar year. 24 years old from Berkeley. You hear him do his press conferences. Unbelievable. And then, of course, Major League Baseball. Lots of things going on. Don't forget, in Major League Baseball, the trade deadline, and this affects wagers, and this affects futures bets too. It affects everything as far as it goes to having the trade deadline. Only one trade deadline this year, July 31st. There are no waiver deadlines in August. That's too complicated to get into, and team chemistry and all this other stuff that I keep hearing about. Who's your team? Who do you want them to trade for? Are they buyers? Are they sellers? Get at me on instant social media or on email, mtmarpodcast@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram. I have a page. Charlie O has a page. Casey Freelove has a page. At VParty Sports on Twitter. At MTMAR Podcast on Twitter as well. VParty Sports on Instagram. Hit us up. We also have a Make the Money and Run page on Facebook as well, too. All right, let's get back to it. The NBA here. How about the NBA in Game 5? So signature plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. How about this? The Milwaukee Bucks are up 3-2. Can you believe it? Everybody thought they were dead. I really thought that Milwaukee probably didn't have a shot, but they had the team to come back. If they could play defense like they were known to play the last couple of years, they hadn't played defense at all this year. Sure enough, it came up big. Doesn't look like it in a 123-119 game. By the way, Milwaukee did cover the 4.5. I bought it to a half point, so 4.5 there. The over-under kept coming down, 219, 220, 218.5, 242 points scored. Nobody could miss on Saturday night. But the big plays came on defense. First of all, you go back to Game 5 in Phoenix. Go back to Game 4 in Milwaukee when Giannis made the big block on DeAndre Ayton. Holy cow, what a play that was. In fact, that's wrong up here on this screen. It was Game 4. Let me change that up to be accurate here. Game 4, the block on DeAndre Ayton at the rim, and that led to a break, and that led to a bucket, and that led to a Milwaukee win, and they ended up covering that game. How about that? And then you go Game 5, and Devin Booker had 40 points. Devin Booker having himself a series. If you don't know who Devin Booker is by now, you're getting an education. 40 points, 17 of 33 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 block, plus 12 on the point differential. Yet they still minus 4. Cameron Johnson was on the floor. He was minus 19 in the point differential. But they don't use a lot of bench players, at least not in this series. Only 3 for Phoenix and only 3 for Milwaukee. Portis, Teague, and Connaughton. 23 points off the bench for Milwaukee to 15 for Phoenix. Craig Johnson Payne off the bench. Cameron Payne didn't play very well. Bobby Portis becoming a big favorite in Milwaukee at 9 points. Jeff Teague came in for 8 minutes. He didn't score at all, but he had a key assist and a key steal. Pat Connaughton, 14 points, 4 of 6 from the three-point line, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. So 123-119. They take a 3-2 lead. Game 6 in Milwaukee. So we're either going to have a champion on Tuesday night if the Bucks win, or we're going to have a Game 7 on Thursday back in Phoenix. And what a series this has turned out to be. How many thought Milwaukee and Phoenix, 2 nondescript teams in the NBA? It's not the Lakers. It's not the Knicks. It's not the Celtics. It's not San Antonio. It's not Miami. It's not any of these teams. The Milwaukee Bucks, with one of the great players in Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, a great shooter, good defense. Brooke Lopez, we know Brooke Lopez out here in Northern California from his Stanford days, but what a series that they put together. Phoenix came out rip-roaring in the first two games. They beat them pretty good at the first two games. They covered. The game stayed. One went over. The second game went under. Game 3 and 4, both games stayed under. Milwaukee's defense came out to show, and sure enough, they came out to show in Game 5 again. Let's look at some of the points here as we type. Giannis, 32 points. Chris Middleton, 29. Drew Holiday, 27. Drew Holiday's main deal is not to score, but if he can shoot and they get 27 points, they're going to be in good shape. 12 of 20 for Holiday, 3 of 6 from 3. No free throws, 4 rebounds, 13 big dimes, 13 assists for Drew Holiday, including the big one at the end of the game. We talked about Giannis in Game 4 with the big block on Ayton that led to a bucket, that led to a victory, that led to a Milwaukee cover in Game 4. And then in Game 5, the big play, Devin Booker already had 40 points at that point, a 1-point lead for Milwaukee. Phoenix going down to try and make the game-winning shot. Of course you put it into Devin Booker's hands. He's 17 of 33. He's got 40 points. Drew Holiday, shout out to all the UCLA people, all the Southern California people out there watching right now. Drew Holiday, they teach it in football, the punch and the rip, and the punch, the grab, and the rip in football to cause a fumble. Well, not only did he punch it, he ripped it. He got the ball. He forwarded to Giannis, and before you know it, he was ahead of the field, and nobody is going to stop Giannis Antetokounmpo on the fly. Two-hand flush. They ended up missing a shot, and Devin Booker took another shot from 3 to try and tie the game. They missed the shot. 1 free throw made by Middleton, and the Milwaukee Bucks as an underdog, 4-point underdog. I bought it to 4.5. 4.5-point underdog. They come out and win, and now they're coming home where they play great defense. The Deer District, how you feeling out there? Send comments. mtmarpodcast@gmail.com, at mtmarpodcast on Twitter. The Milwaukee Bucks, a 3-2 series lead with Game 6 coming on Tuesday night. We're going to have a champion on Tuesday night. Or do the Phoenix Suns come back on Tuesday and force a Game 7 on Thursday night? What do you think, Phoenix? You a little disappointed after the last 3 games? I would be too. I didn't see the box score for Chris Paul, but some of the prop bets were Giannis to get over 46 points and rebounds. I don't think he got there with 32. I think he did, actually. Got to 46. But Chris Paul, the last 3 games for Chris Paul have been really tough. They've really focused on stopping Chris Paul on the ball handling. And what they're doing is, and this is a little inside basketball knowledge, and I got this from somebody else too, as well as watching myself. They're double teaming Chris Paul right as he comes across half court. They are not falling for the pick and roll. If you fall for the pick and roll, you're going to leave an open shooter. And sure enough, Crowder had big points in the first 4 games. DeAndre Ayton showed he can make that jump shot. They get inside. They were dominating one of the games on the inside before Lopez and Portis and P.J. Tucker kind of established their will. And then in Game 4, Milwaukee established their will against a very small Phoenix team. That's when DeAndre Ayton caught himself in foul trouble. So it's going to be interesting. Milwaukee, 5-point favorite now. The momentum swing back to Milwaukee. 5-point favorite, 221.5 the total. The game went to 242 on Saturday night. So what do you think about that over? Milwaukee with a 3-2 series lead. If they win on Tuesday night, talking about the Bucks, it'll be their first championship in 51 years. Who was on that team 51 years ago? A man named Lou Alcindor, otherwise known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Shout out UCLA people again. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played in the NBA Finals in 1974-75 when they were in the Western Conference. They lost to the Boston Celtics in that series, 73-74 or 74-75, I forget. But that's the last time that they were in the finals was 1974. So I guess it would be 73-74 then. So here's a chance to win a championship for the first time in 51 years. By the way, the Phoenix Suns have never won a championship. They've been to the finals twice. The last one with the Charles Barkley group in the mid-'90s, but they ran into, as a lot of teams did, they ran into the buzzsaw of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls of the 90s with their 6 championships in 8 years. And we all know about Michael Jordan, the 2 years he took off for baseball and some retirement, whatever the case was, that the Houston Rockets won back-to-back championships in those 2 years. And not to denigrate the Houston Rockets at all, but they did win in those years. You can only play who's in front of you. And the Rockets did that way back in 1995. They beat the Orlando Magic, a young Shaquille O'Neal, a young Penny Hardaway team. And then the New York Knicks with John Starks, Patrick Ewing, all those guys back there. Sprewell, I think. I don't know if Sprewell was there. I can't remember if he was there or not. But a very interesting scenario set up. Milwaukee Bucks, third third lowest TV program in the NBA in Wisconsin. How you feeling about that? Phoenix, not much higher than that, but they do get some viewership with the way that the Suns have played. They're pretty much a stable team down there in the desert. So game 6 in Milwaukee. Milwaukee a 5-point favorite, 221.5. We'll break that down by the time Charlie O comes back with me on Thursday for a full show. That's noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Thursday because of all the day baseball. We'll either have a game 7 that Thursday night, or we'll have a champion with the Milwaukee Bucks winning in 6. And like I said, the way they're playing right now, if they throw that defense out there and they can force Chris Paul into turnovers, you let Booker. This is why I brought up Michael Jordan, the Chicago Bulls. This reminds me so much of the 90s. They are letting Booker have his and stop the other 4 guys, or if you include the bench guys, stop the other 7 guys on the floor at that time. They're not getting any bench production. Cameron Johnson had the one good game, the one good dunk. They just haven't had. Cameron Payne had 2 good games in Phoenix, has not had good games since then in Milwaukee. He's a second-year player. Chris Paul, of course, the struggles the last 3 games. Booker had the one bad game where he went 3 of 14 in a Milwaukee win. I believe that was game 3. That was a blowout for Milwaukee back then. But here we are, 3 games to 2. Milwaukee with the series lead, 221.5 the total. I want to hear consensus from anybody on Facebook or YouTube out there. Let's check in on see who's on Facebook right now. How you doing, Frank? Good to hear from you. Are you in San Diego yet? I want to catch up with you at some point. Miss you in San Francisco. Baseball stadium not the same without Frank yelling in the bar, serving drinks, slanging drinks, as they say at the Public House, San Francisco. How you doing, everybody at the Public House in San Francisco? Giants will come back home on Friday night for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and don't underestimate the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll get to all the baseball in a second, but I'm really fascinated by how this series turned. Somebody on this set, Charlie and I did the show Friday, somebody on the set said the Milwaukee Bucks not only were going to cover, but had a good chance to win on Saturday night. Who would that be? That would be me. At VParty Sports on Twitter, VParty Sports on Instagram, at mtmerpodcast@gmail.com, and also on the Facebook pages, the social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and we also have a Make the Money and Run page as well. Don't forget, we're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. 3 Eastern on Mondays, which is where we're at now. Thursdays at noon Eastern and Friday at 1 Eastern. We preview the week of baseball. We preview all the events that are going to take place, all the games. I say events because in 2 weeks the Olympics are coming, and we will talk about the Olympics. We will talk about betting value on the Olympics. It's going to be hard to make wagers on that, but there are lines out there, and there are games out there. You talk about the USA basketball specifically. They have lost 2 straight. They're getting ready to play their last exhibition match, I think tomorrow is Tuesday, and then they'll be off to Tokyo. So that's how you can get to us. If you miss us on Facebook and YouTube Live, of course, the end of the show where we have our unsponsored, world-famous pick segment, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Find that logo up there, Make the Money and Run, rate and review anywhere you get your podcast. All right, let's switch over from the NBA to the Open across the pond. How about Colin Morikawa? Colin Morikawa, minus 15, wins Britain's biggest golf tournament, the Open. It's considered a major in some circles. Second time he's won a major championship. He's only 24 years old. Northern California graduate from Berkeley, Southern California kid, Dodgers fan. Got to like him already. Sorry, NorCal. We got a big series. We'll talk about the baseball with Giants and Dodgers in a second. But Morikawa, minus 15, Britain's biggest golf tournament. Second win for Colin Morikawa. I like his press conference where he said something to the effect of he might be a little too young to appreciate the things that he's doing right now. What a beautiful swing. And I'm not a total technical expert on golf swings, but if you see his swing in the fairways and off the tee, they are just a thing of beauty. And self-admittedly, he said he's had a tough time putting, but fortunately he had enough putts. Jordan Spieth made a run at him, minus 13. Jon Rahm, who was the favorite coming into the Open, finishes tied for third with Louis Oosthuizen. How about Louis Oosthuizen? Yikes. Has leads in last 5 tournaments he's had leads in. Has failed to finish, and he's finished in second or third or somewhere down the list. Jon Rahm, Louis Oosthuizen finish at minus 11 in the tournament. So that's how the Open ends up. We're going to have one more major coming up. The FedEx Cup will come in at the end of August, and those are the top 30 winners of all the tournaments. They take all the winners from there, and they award all the prize money. And I still haven't figured out the scoring system. And if I haven't figured out the scoring system, you figure out the scoring system yourself. Somebody get to me on Facebook or somebody get to me on YouTube and let me know exactly how that scoring system works for FedEx. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to head into baseball. I still can't get over the Milwaukee Bucks, but we're going to talk a lot of baseball. Lots of games today, including one that starts at 5:10, a doubleheader. The first place Chicago White Sox will host the Minnesota Twins. Lance Lynn and Griffin Jacks, my new favorite name. They're not a very good team, but my new favorite name, Griffin Jacks, pitches in Game 1 for the Minnesota Twins. Used to be a big Central Division matchup, not this year. The White Sox kind of running away with it, though the Indians are trying to make a run of it after their weekend in Oakland. We'll have a lot more to discuss about Major League Baseball, the National League, the American League, division races, trade deadline. Remember, only one trade deadline on July 31st. There will be no trades after July 31st this year. The collective bargaining agreement takes place in December, so we'll see what they do as far as that. And then they're going back to old rules as far as one wild card. So anything can happen. The division leaders are out there. The wild card leaders are out there. It'll be interesting. Is your team a buyer? Is your team a seller? Find out. We'll talk about it after this break. 30 seconds. The Make the Money and Run podcast. I'm Vasi Vadaparty for July 19th, 2021. Hope your weekend was great. Hope your sports weekend was great. And hope you made some money on this weekend as well, too. Back in 30, the Make the Money and Run podcast. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast for Monday, July 19th, 2021. Solo act today. Vasi Vadaparty, as it is for most Mondays. Charlie will be back with me on Thursday and Friday, and then we'll do little podcast minutes during the week. Lots to talk about this week in terms of the NBA. Obviously, the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks. Still can't get over the Bucks on Saturday night. I did like them. I did like them to cover. I did like them to win. They had prop bets out there, depending on which game it was at, for a victory for either team and a team to win the series. And they had those odds out there as well. And a lot of them had Phoenix, especially after Game 4, thinking it was going to be an all-home game series. By the way, it's a series now because the old saying goes, and they do this in 7-game series, it's not a series until a road game wins a game. And sure enough, Milwaukee did in Game 5. Now it's a series. They've got a chance to win. Remember, Phoenix had 4 of the 7 games at home, so Milwaukee was going to have to win one or the other. And by the way, a Game 5 winner in a best-of-7 series goes on to win the series 72% of the time. 72% of the time. That's no cheap number there. So do you think Milwaukee will cover the -5 on Tuesday? We'll see, but that's the line right now. Milwaukee -5, 221.5, a 3-games-to-2 series lead for the Milwaukee Bucks. You can catch me and Charlie Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 3 times a week live on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks to everybody who get on with us live, including Frank on Facebook right now. Of course, you can download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcast. You find that logo up there in the right-hand corner for Make the Money and Run. Check out Stables Media as well, as we're powered by Stables Media. Check out Stables Media and all the different shows on there. And if you're interested in doing podcasts, contact Stables Media. A lot to say, little time or a little space to do it. Come join Stables Media and get your podcast, get your word out there, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be lifestyle. It could be entertainment. It could be nuclear science. It could be whatever you want to talk about. Get yourself out there on a podcast and get your information out there as well, too. All right, we're going to move on to baseball here a little bit. Lots to talk about in baseball. Let's start in the National League. I'll put the lines up for the National League right now, but we'll go through the whole weekend as it's post-All-Star break, the resumption of the baseball season. Again, can't emphasize this enough. The trade deadline, only one trade deadline. We're at the 19th, 12 days away, 4 o'clock Eastern. I think it's 4 o'clock Eastern on the trade deadline, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern on the trade deadline, July 31st. Somebody's going to have to get with me on that and let me know what the actual time is for that. But you look at the National League lines, Cincinnati 113 versus New York. The Mets coming in. Kind of struggled this last weekend with the Pirates. They were able to come back from a 6-0 deficit on Sunday. Cincinnati, after winning 3 straight in Milwaukee, cutting that lead down. They end up losing 2 out of 3 to the Milwaukee Brewers. Cincinnati, Vladimir Gutierrez, who's been a pretty good surprise for the Reds, going up against Jared Eichhoff, former Miami Marlin, actually was a Florida Marlin then. 113-11 on the total. San Diego, 153 with Yu Darvish versus Kyle Muller, the young left-hander for Atlanta. 9 the total. Yu Darvish and the Padres rolling a little bit. They are coming off the series in Washington. They did lose their last game. Mark Melanson gave it up on Sunday in an 8-7 loss, but they did win the first 2 games. The second game halted on Friday with gunshots fired outside of National Stadium, and players were forced to leave the field. Fans climbed into the dugout for shelter. Everywhere they were just hoping to get to safety. Hope everybody's safe. We heard some victims went to the hospital with wounds, and people walked into the hospital as well. Very scary situation, and I just don't know what to say. All the gun violence that's going on in this country, they're just taking it out on people. There's no reason for this to happen, but yet it does happen, and I just don't know what else to. I don't know what else to say about that. That's not the type of show we're at, so I don't even want to get into that. But they resumed the Friday night game into Saturday, and they did complete that game. The Padres did win the game, and then they have a second. They had a second game, the originally scheduled game on Sunday. This was Saturday night. The gunshot happened, and then the originally scheduled game was on Sunday, as the Nationals came back in the bottom of the ninth and got the comeback win against Melanson and the Padres. All right, so San Diego at Atlanta. Atlanta, tough series over the weekend that they had with the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay is very good. They ended up losing 2 out of 3, but the bigger story is that Atlanta blew 2 leads both Friday and yesterday. The over came through for me on yesterday with the Braves and the Rays. The over was 9. It didn't look like it was getting there, and then it ended up 7-5 Atlanta, 7-5 Tampa. And so Tampa Bay takes 2 out of 3. We'll hit the American League in a second, but Atlanta starting to struggle here a little bit. They are 5 back in the loss column, 4 back of the New York Mets, who took 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend. As we said, the Mets are going to be in Cincinnati. Cincinnati a little upset with how Milwaukee. Now they're 7 back as Cincinnati against the Milwaukee Bucks, who have won 3 in a row. Cincinnati lost 3 in a row this weekend. Actually, they got swept. They did get swept by Milwaukee over the weekend. I thought Cincinnati won one of the games, but in fact, they did not. So Milwaukee, coming out of the All-Star break, sweeps them, takes those 3 games back from Milwaukee that they lost to Cincinnati, and move this lead back to 7. The Cubs are 9 back. The Cardinals, who took 2 out of 3 from the Giants over the weekend in St. Louis, are still 9 back. They won their last 2 Saturday and Sunday. And then Pittsburgh 19 back, though they're playing better, and don't take the Pirates lightly. And I'm talking to you, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know you made a couple trades, and you're definitely sellers, trading Stephen Vogt to the Atlanta Braves. But Atlanta 117 and Arizona 117 and 9.5 in the desert tonight. Caleb Smith and Chase DeYoung going in the desert. Not a lot of paying attention to that game, as well as 2 teams that are in the basement in the National League West and the National League Center. The Chicago Cubs. They did lose 13 out of 15. They came back, had some good success over the weekend a little bit, but they're still 4-6 in their last 10. They are 9 back, 2 back of the Reds. They're 1 game under 500, and I believe they're still quite a ways out in the wild card. As I look at it now, they're 7.5 back in the wild card. Philadelphia 6 back in the wild card. Cincinnati 5.5 back. Dodgers and Padres are the ones leading the National League in wild card standings right now. So the Cubs are a favorite at St. Louis after St. Louis just took 2 out of 3 from the best record, from the best team in baseball, the San Francisco Giants. Jake Woodford goes for St. Louis. Alec Mills, the young right-hander, goes for the Chicago Cubs. 108 and 9 the total for the Chicago Cubs going into St. Louis. Of course, they don't like each other. It's a big rivalry, and this is a good chance for somebody to maybe pop off against somebody and maybe separate themselves. St. Louis still thinks they're in it, even though they're behind the Cubs. So we'll see. This weekend against the Giants may have given them some hope as well. And then the big one tonight in Los Angeles, a 4-game series. Game 1 starts tonight. It'll be a bullpen game. Tony Gonsolin going for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Kevin Gausman, the ace of the San Francisco Giants, going tonight as well, too. He missed his scheduled start on Friday in St. Louis. His wife was having complications. They're pregnant, and he had to fly back to Denver to take care of that. Totally understandable, totally acceptable. Take care of that stuff. He's back. Apparently she's out of the hospital. Mrs. Gossman's out of the hospital. I don't know her first name, but good for Kevin Gausman. He can concentrate back on baseball and hope everything is well at the Gausman household as well. But is it surprising to you out there in Make the Money and Run TV land and podcast land that the Dodgers are favored 133 with a bullpen game? Tony Gonsolin, the starter. That means David Price will be involved somewhere. That means Joe Kelly will be involved somewhere. All the pitchers, maybe one pitcher an inning, maybe a couple of pitchers over 5 innings, and then they go to the regular bullpen rotation. See, but 133 and 8.5. By the way, story comes out, and I'm not for this, the electronic cheating and everything that's going on with the videotaping and the spider tack and all this other stuff. I think it went from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. So here's my take, and I'm trying not to talk about this as much. A lot of talk about Kevin Gausman the last time he pitched against LA, that he was tipping his pitches. Well, baseball lore is, if it's on the field and you're giving your opponent an advantage and you're the other team and you're not protecting yourself from the standpoint of signs or location or tipping off your pitches or whatever the scenario is, then that's on you. The Dodgers are only doing what's given to them. If Gausman is in fact tipping his pitches, then the Dodgers should have every advantage to take that. And the same goes for Tony Gonsolin or anybody else on the Dodgers staff. If you're tipping your pitches and there's a runner at second given location or given pitches, that's on you, because there's no way they would get the sequence of signs if it hadn't been for you tipping them off. So maybe he's holding his glove differently on a curveball. Maybe he's bringing his glove higher on a fastball. Who knows what it is? You really have to look to notice that, and there are trained eyes in Major League Baseball that do that. That's why they have bench coaches. That's why they have extra coaches on the bench to look for stuff like this. If you have a base runner that misses a base, there are coaches that watch for that too. So you can have an appeal play that they miss first base or miss second base, whatever the case is. I saw an example where Chris Davis, the slugger formerly of the A's and the Rangers, he missed home plate on a home run by skipping over it, by doing his little home run dance. And Posey, they had the appeal. Posey tagged home plate. Chris Davis a triple. He's out of the plate. They get no runs in that inning. That was a game about 5 years ago, and Chris Davis was with the Milwaukee Brewers. But anyway, if you're tipping pitches and you're giving the team the advantage, then that's on you. So Kevin Gausman, if in fact that's the case, everybody's complaining about Max Muncy. Certainly the Giants fans are complaining about Max Muncy. But if he's the one that's noticing pitch tipping, that's on you, San Francisco Giants pitchers. And that goes for any team in Major League Baseball. If you're tipping your pitches and the other team can get that, and that's within the white lines of the field, you better figure out a better way to keep your signs close or keep your deception or get better deception, because there's no way that a professional team is not going to let these advantages slip by. So that's kind of where we're at. So as far as the National League goes, the big game, obviously, the Giants, Dodgers, NorCal, SoCal. It's the way it's always been, living in both areas as a kid in SoCal and in Northern California. I am a Dodgers fan. I do like the Giants. When they don't play each other, I root for the Giants. I'm going to put that out there one more time for the Smack Talk groups. There is a Sports Smack Talk group that I know that are all friends of mine. Sports Smack Talk group and everybody else that thinks you can't be a fan of both teams, but you can be a fan of both teams. I get paid by a certain team. I love another team growing up. It doesn't mean you can't be a fan of both teams. I know it's hard to understand, and you just have to live with it. That's basically it. So let's look at the National League standings. As we said, the Mets, the Brewers, and the Giants all lead their divisions. Brewers have come on 56 wins, 7 up on the Reds, 6 up in the loss column. The Mets have 48 wins. The Phillies have 47 wins. They've won 2 in a row over the weekend. The Phillies had the Marlins this weekend. They took 2 out of 3 from there as well. So they're 3 back in the loss column of the Phillies. Talked about Atlanta already. The Washington Nationals are 6 back. They're 3 out of the last 10. Max Scherzer did not pitch great for the second game in a row. He had a big lead going in, and he gave up those runs pretty quickly. In fact, the Padres had a lead late, and if it wasn't for a walk-off 2-run comeback in the bottom of the 9th inning, the Nationals would not have that win. So right now, and then, of course, Miami 9.5 back. Not that far back. The way this division is, a lot of people, including our friend John Parado in Pittsburgh, says that the Miami Marlins, there's nobody he likes in that division. But I guess with DeGrom, you got to go with the Mets. But, boy, they got to hit a little bit. And Marcus Stroman gave up 6 runs in the first inning to the Pirates, who were playing a little bit better offensively, but their pitching stinks, and they blew that 6-0 lead, and the Mets came back as well, too. So Philadelphia right now, with all that talent, you got to like their chances, but they've got to solve their bullpen. Maybe they've got a bullpen guy. Ranger Suarez pitched pretty well over the weekend, and he looks like a guy that will close out. They won that first game of the doubleheader with him closing out against the Marlins on Friday afternoon. Milwaukee, we said, 7-game lead over Cincinnati. They don't hit. I don't know what to make of that. But the Reds hit. They don't pitch. Their bullpen gave up a 4-1 lead on Friday night with Tyler Mahle on the mound. Second time Mahle's had good outings against Milwaukee, but the bullpen could not hold it. The Cubs, we talked about it. They could be sellers in this market. We'll hit the trade deadline stuff and all the names that are going about it as the week goes on. But Joey Gallo, Kyle Gibson of Texas, Chris Bryant. Anthony Rizzo's name came across the ticker in terms of the trade deadline. Wilson Contreras. The first name that you wouldn't expect to have been traded was Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson gets traded to the Atlanta Braves. He signed a 1-year contract with the Cubs as a free agent. Then middle of the year, they send him off to Atlanta, and he's already contributed to the Braves as well. But it might be too little too late for the Atlanta Braves. And then St. Louis thinks they're still in it. They're 9 back. They took on the Giants over the weekend. They beat them 2 out of 3, and that's not an easy task right now. Left the Giants. The Dodgers went into Colorado, took 2 out of 3, a 2-run comeback in extra innings by the Rockies. Got them a walk-off win on Sunday, so the Dodgers did not sweep. Otherwise, they'd be even in the standings, but 1 game back in the loss column. As it is, the Giants are 2 games up in the loss column, 1 game in the standings. Giants are 6-4 in their last 10. Dodgers and Padres 5-5 in their last 10. By the way, the Los Angeles Dodgers, they've been swinging it lately going into the All-Star break. 154 runs, plus 154 is a run differential. That is 26 runs better than the Houston Astros, who have the second best run differential, plus 129. The Giants are at 118. The Giants are 4th at 118. The White Sox are 124, and nobody nearing 100 in the American League East, except for Toronto, who's at 95. We'll get to the American League in a second. The Giants have the Dodgers for 4 games in LA. If they want to come back out of first place, they got to be able to shut those bats down this week. They got to be able to split that series with them, because if they lose 3 out of 4 to the Dodgers in LA, they will find themselves in second place going into the weekend against Pittsburgh. I don't know who LA has this weekend, but we'll get to all those previews as the week goes on as well. And then the Padres, we said they're at Atlanta this week for the 3 games. The 3 games against the Braves. They should be able to take 2 out of 3. The Padres bats are starting to swing it a little bit as well, too. They're 55-41. They're 7 back in the loss column of the Giants and 5 back in the standings. They are the second wild card team in the National League. So that basically exhausts the National League talk from the weekend. Going into the preview week, we're going to take 30 seconds, make the Money and Run podcast. We'll come back, talk American League, a little potpourri at the end. I'll give you my picks at the end, and then we'll have a segment later. Don't forget, at 5:10 Eastern, 2:10 Pacific, Game 1 of the doubleheader between Lance Lynn, Griffin Jax of the Minnesota Twins in Chicago. The White Sox, as we said, they've got an 8-game lead on the Cleveland Indians. White Sox took 2 out of 3 from the Astros. The last 2 games they won. Cleveland took 2 out of 3 from Oakland over the weekend, so they maintained their pace at 8 back. And then in the West, Oakland's 3.5 back of the Houston Astros. We'll dive into the American League in 30 seconds. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for July 19th, 2021. Vasi Vadaparty, your solo host today. Back in 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasi Vadaparty, your solo host here on Monday, July 19th, 2021. Going in a bit. Sorry, doing a little producing here on the side. Anyway, welcome back. Make the Money and Run. We're here every Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Charlie O will join me on Thursdays and Fridays. Training camp starts in about 3 weeks. Hopefully we'll get Casey Freelove back. Get to us on Facebook and YouTube for the live shows. You can download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcast. Make the Money and Run podcast logo up there in the corner. You can hit us up on email. Check out the show. Check out the social media for later picks by 6 Eastern. V Party Sports on Instagram at V Party Sports, MTMAR Podcast on Twitter, MTMAR Podcast at gmail.com. Let us know. Hit us up. What games are you interested in? Who are your teams? In baseball especially, are they buyers? Are they sellers? Who do you want in your lineup to either help you take that division? Because right now, as the old saying goes, if you're going to swing big. Might as well. There's some names out there. The Chicago Cubs are probably the most central pointed team right now in baseball, because they've got everybody that they're trying to move. And it's no secret that they're trying to move everybody. Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant, all free agents at the end of the year. Who do you want on your team? Chris Bryant plays 5 positions. In the new age of sabermetrics and analytics, you got to think that he's a guy that people would be interested in terms of his versatility, the power he has. If you're San Francisco and you're not sure when Longoria is going to come back and Tommy La Stella is on the bench. I mean, they're doing great with their platoon players and their bench players, but at some point, bench players are bench players for a reason. You're going to have to get some bats. Obviously, left field, a big problem in San Francisco right now. They're talking about starting pitching. I'm not sure they need starting pitching. I think relief pitching is where it's at right now. And the way Gabe Kapler uses the bullpen, you got to think that relief pitching is the way to go. Here's a name for you, San Francisco Giants. How about Taylor Rogers? Is it Tyler Rogers? Tyler Rogers is a Giants relief pitcher. He's got a twin that's Taylor Rogers with the Minnesota Twins, twin brother. I'm thinking of Trevor Rogers with the Marlins, but there's no relation to either of the Rogers guys. Taylor Rogers of the Minnesota Twins. I'll get it straight here. Taylor Rogers and Tyler Rogers, twins brother. Taylor Rogers of the Minnesota Twins does not pitch to contact like Tyler, and that's going to be good for him in the 8th and 9th innings. You need guys that are going to strike out people. And Taylor Rogers of the Twins are going to unload a lot of guys there. They're having a terrible year, probably the most disappointing year of anybody. They lost 1-0 in game 1 of a doubleheader on Sunday. With that offense, Josh Donaldson, Nelson Cruz, Arias at second base. They've got Max Kepler, who's been on and off this whole year. They're starting pitching outside of Barrios, and even Barrios has been okay. And their bullpen has not been great at all. So the Minnesota Twins, biggest disappointment, and their fielding, their defense is, oh my God, their defense is horrible. And they should have been right there. They won 101 games last year. They lost to the Astros in the wild card series when it was a series last year. They got swept. They got swept 3-0 in that series by Houston. So there's a lot of names out there. Nelson Cruz, Taylor Rogers of the Minnesota Twins. Josh Donaldson might be on the move as well, the former MVP with the Toronto Blue Jays, 2015 MVP. Could be on the move as well, too. You look at all the teams. You guys are sellers or buyers? You want assets? You want cash? There's plenty of teams that will have it right now. The Chicago Cubs were tied for first about 6 weeks ago with the Milwaukee Brewers, and then they went on that bad losing streak. Now, names like Chris Bryant's already been out there to begin with, but now you look at Anthony Rizzo. All of a sudden, his name came up with the Boston Red Sox. Anthony Rizzo going back to Boston where he was drafted. In fact, that's where he had his cancer scare, but he got traded to San Diego a year later so Jake Peavy could help the Red Sox win the World Series in 2013. And then, of course, Peavy came to San Francisco and helped the Giants win a World Series in 2014. So let's look at it this way. Rizzo, Bryant, Wilson Contreras behind the plate. They've already traded Jock Peterson. Jason Hayward's on that roster as well, too. Don't know how many teams would be interested in him. And I've heard Javi Baez is on the market as well, too. Well, he's a free agent at the end of the year. If you're somebody like the Oakland A's and you want to go after Javi Baez to play short, then you can sign him to a long-term deal. Elvis Andrus has been hot the last 6 weeks, but you got a guy like Javi Baez that's available to you. Javi, by the way, stop swinging the sliders down and away. I know that's your weakness. That's your kryptonite, but you strike out too much on that pitch. That's just my opinion. I would never throw you a fastball, but that's just me. But anyway, Javi Baez on the market too, and the Oakland A's could certainly use somebody like that as well too. And then you got the Texas Rangers. We mentioned Kyle Gibson, Joey Gallo. Who wouldn't look good with Joey Gallo in their lineup? The San Diego Padres, San Francisco Giants, even the Oakland A's. He said 8 home runs against the A's this year, and he would look good in that outfield as well too. I love Tony Kemp, but Tony Kemp in left field is not a power-hitting left fielder, and he's a really good second baseman. So they'll have to figure out what they're going to do there. They don't have Chad Pinder. He's on the injured list right now. It happened before the All-Star break. All right, some of the names that are going to be thrown out there before July 31st. See how it goes. Obviously, the GMs are going at it. You don't have to be, and you don't want to ruin team chemistry either. The A's made a major blunder with trading Yoenis Cespedes 7 years ago for John Lester from the Red Sox, and it disrupted clubhouse chemistry. Billy Beane's answer to that, as do a lot of general managers and a lot of presidents of teams, they say good chemistry is when you win and bad chemistry is when you lose. Yeah, but there is something to be said about upsetting the clubhouse chemistry by trading away popular guys. And I think the A's were on their way to win, and yet he made the trade for Cespedes for John Lester because he thought he was pitching. He's not the only one. There's more to the analytics and sabermetrics. And nobody, especially on a wagering podcast, nobody is bigger than the numbers than we are here at Make the Money and Run. And any of the wagering shows that you see or any of the other advice, by the way, why would you go to those other shows? We give you the straight fact information on our shows right now. But the fact is that you don't have to be an Ivy League graduate. You don't have to know sabermetrics and analytics inside and out. You don't have to know spin rates and exit velo and all this other stuff to know what will upset clubhouse chemistry and clubhouse continuity. All you got to do is go talk to your players. Talk to your players. Make a visit to them. Let's not forget baseball is the human factor. So just keep in mind that that's the case. If you're going out there to do something, go out there, go big. Farhan Zaidi, Billy Bean out here in the Bay Area where I live, Andrew Friedman in Los Angeles, San Diego, AJ Preller in San Diego, or AJ Preller in San Diego. Go after somebody big down there as well too. If you think you're going to make it, you're in third place right now. But if you think you can catch the Giants, you think you can catch the Dodgers, then go after somebody. Your outfield is kind of a little shaky in left field. I know Tommy Pham's there, but there's a lot of ways to go about it. All right, let's get to the American League. Let's review the American League from the weekend. We talked about the White Sox. They took 2 of 3 from the Astros. They got swept 2 weeks ago by the Houston Astros at home in a 4-game series. The Astros were at home, in Houston. Chicago, 220 with Lance Lynn. That's a 5 o'clock game, we said. That's an hour and 15 minutes away for game 1 of a doubleheader from a previous rainout. Griffin Jax, the young rookie from Minnesota, going to come in. It's a 7-inning game. Lots of games. In fact, let's go through this here. 1, 2, 3. Let me go back to the National League for a second here. 3 games of the 11 games that are on the schedule are favorites of over 200, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 games over $1.50 for the favorites. So you want to look at that. Now we're getting in the middle of the year. Teams are going to be based on wagers, and wagering lines are going to be based on these pitchers. And so everybody wants to go with the good pitchers and go against the bad pitchers. Sometimes you got to be careful on that because these odds are pretty heavy to go against. So you just got to watch out for that as well too. Anyway, Griffin Jax, Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn just signed a 2-year extension with the Chicago White Sox, so he's got to be pretty happy. So you got to think at minus 220. That might not be a bad bet for the White Sox going in tonight. Toronto is 8 games back of the Boston Red Sox. 6 games back of the Boston Red Sox. They're 4 back in the loss column. They've won 4 in a row. Their bats are all explosive, plus 95 in run differential. Guerrero, Biggio, and Bichette all having great years. George Springer coming off the injured list is back. Their pitching is what's holding them back right now. But they're going to have the Boston Red Sox in for 3 games or 4 games, and this is their chance to make up ground. They are 6 back. If they can get this lead back to 3 or 2 games after their series with the Red Sox, don't you think that'll put a little scare in the Boston Red Sox? Don't you think that'll put a little scare in the Tampa Bay Rays, who, by the way, took 2 out of 3 from Atlanta, we mentioned? They're on another one of their runs. They've won 8 out of 10, including 2 out of 3 in Atlanta, and they are even in the loss column at 38 losses. Boston has 56 wins. Tampa Bay has 55 wins. So that's the difference of where it is, and you're still trying to figure out how Tampa Bay is doing it, huh? How about they just play baseball well? How about they've got baseball guys? What does baseball guys mean? Who the hell knows what baseball guys mean? But I think it means fundamentals. I think it means knowing what you're going to do before the balls hit you on defense, knowing situations when you're hitting in the batter's box. That's what baseball people do. That's what baseball guys do. Not strike out, walk, and hit home runs. I understand. I just insulted 25 of the general managers and pro player personnel directors in baseball with their analytics and sabermetrics. But know who your team is. KYP, they say that in football a lot. KYP, know your personnel. And that's exactly what you got to do with regards to the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays playing outstanding baseball, 8-2. The Yankees 7-3. They took care of the Red Sox over the weekend, 2 out of 3. The Red Sox won Friday night behind Eduardo Rodriguez, and then they proceeded to lose the next 2 Saturday. We'll get to Saturday in a second, but yesterday a 9-1 victory by the Yankees. They take 2 out of 3. Saturday, a shortened game, rain delays to start. The game was on Fox. It was a 9-inning game. They started at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Then they had other rains come up. Then Alex Cora pulled his team off the field because Alex Verdugo nicely throws a baseball into the stands to a fan. And what does a fan do? By the way, that guy should be tied up and have a baseball thrown at him to see how it feels. He got the baseball from Verdugo, and he's a Yankees fan. And I know it's not every Yankees fan, but it certainly didn't make the Yankees fans look good. It even sickened Aaron Boone, your manager, the New York Yankees manager. He got the ball that Verdugo threw to him. He proceeded to throw it back and hit Verdugo directly. He could have injured him. He did not know that ball was coming to him. He could have injured him. Terrible, terrible, terrible fan behavior. We saw it toward the end in the NBA. We saw it a little bit in baseball early in the year. I've seen it from Giants-Dodgers perspective, both in Los Angeles and in San Francisco. So neither one of you fan bases are innocent when it comes to that. It should not happen anywhere. It should never happen. You get that foul ball, you get that ball that a player throws in the stands, instead of firing it back to show your displeasure for the Red Sox, how about showing displeasure for Yankees team, we're playing like crap right now. Yankees fans, come on. Don't throw the baseball back and hit somebody in the field. Give it to a kid. Kid goes to a game with his dad, with his parents, with his family. Give the ball to a kid. He'll never forget that for the rest of his life. And what we're trying to do is promote baseball to younger kids coming up, and you give them an experience like that, they follow up, and hopefully they grow up into baseball fans and bring their kids to baseball games as well too, because we're losing the young fan base. All right, so that's a soapbox for me. Anyway, the Blue Jays and Red Sox go this week. Red Sox 6-up on Toronto. Toronto swinging the bats. They're at home. They're still in Buffalo. They're going to go back to Toronto on July 30th. So August 1st, I think, is Canada Day. So they'll be back in time to celebrate Canada Day in Toronto. Joe Madden, Cam Parsons, anybody out there on the Stables Media from Canada can correct me if August 1st is not Canada Day, but I believe it is Canada Day. And so hopefully the Blue Jays will be back and be able to celebrate with their fans. Terrific fans, by the way, in Toronto. A lot of times they don't get a lot of people there, but the fans that they do have there are terrific fans. I've been there. It's a great place, the Rogers Center, and it's a fun place to go watch a baseball game. And they've got a pretty good team. They may be a year away based on their pitching right now and definitely their bullpen. But this is a chance to take care of a slumping Red Sox team who had a tough time this weekend in New York. The Yankees are 7 back, and they are 6 back in the loss column. 2 back. Yankees are 2 back at Toronto. 6 back of Tampa Bay and Boston in the loss column. They've got to get hot. They need to figure out where to get some more pitching. Garrett Cole was great on Saturday. Yesterday, Jamison Taillon was pretty good, but they got to get their bullpen in order. They've got to get some clutch hitting going. They don't hit with runners in scoring position. In fact, I think they're either last or second to last with runners in scoring position. Fundamental baseball. Baseball guys, do the right things on the field. Hit the ball the other way. Bunt a guy over. Steal a base. Hit and run. Get some movement on the field instead of trying to hit home runs. I know that's what your lineup is there for. You're not going to have Aaron Judge for 10 days, by the way. He's on the injured list. Well, he's not really on the injured list, but we can't really say what it is because it's due to the COVID, contact tracing. We don't think he has it, but contact tracing is involved in this. So HIPAA laws forbid us from talking about this on the air. So hopefully he's feeling better and he does not have it and he comes back and helps the Yankees organization. All right, so 4 teams in the American League in the race. Half a game back for Tampa, 6 for Toronto, 7 for the Yankees. Baltimore 25 back. Baltimore has players they can trade. How about you, Red Sox? We talked about Anthony Rizzo on the National League. How about Trey Mancini playing first base? Now, Bobby Dahlbeck's there. He's a young player, but he hits 9th in the order and he's struggling. Trey Mancini, if you saw him in the home run derby, he can hit. You bring him into Boston with that green monster, that high fence but short fence there. He's already had success in Boston through his short career. Of course, he's come off the cancer. He's fine now. He did the home run derby based on the fact that he wanted to show people that he could do that. And here he is back in the lineup. Lots of teams could be interested in Trey Mancini. That's another name to add to the Gallos and the Kyle Gibsons and the Rizzos and the Bryants. I don't know. I'd even go after Miguel Cabrera, honestly. Miguel Cabrera to come in and pinch hit and play first base every once in a while if you're a National League team, or come in and DH. Look at what the Dodgers did for Pujols. He's been reinvigorated. He's hitting the ball well. He's playing well for the Dodgers as well, too. So Trey Mancini, a name to look out for on the trade deadline. American League Central, we said the White Sox 7 of their last 10. They beat the Astros 2 straight, Saturday and Sunday. And then Cleveland 8 back. How about Cleveland holding off the A's? They could have swept the A's. A walk-off by Jed Lowry in the 9th inning on Friday night kept them from sweeping the A's, but then they come back and hold off in the 9th inning. The A's, I'll give the A's credit. We'll get to the A's in a second, but I'll give the A's credit. They grinded bats, and they're not out of it until that 27th out is made, and they're behind, and the umpire says game over. The Indians 8 back. Detroit 14 back. Minnesota 17 back. Biggest disappointment, the Minnesota Twins. Kansas City Royals got off to a good start, but now they're 19 back, 37 and 55. Minnesota has guys to play with to trade. Talked about Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson. Caleb Thielbar. Look up Caleb Thielbar, left-handed middle reliever for the Twins. This is the time of year where teams need middle relievers. Caleb Thielbar, along with Taylor Rogers of the Minnesota Twins, good guys to go after. Don't know if they'd be interested in trading Jose Barrios. He's their only starting ace there as it is right now. Kenta Maeda also there. He's a little older, so maybe he's on the block as well, too, for the Minnesota Twins. Detroit Tigers, we talked about the guys that are there. Do they want assets? Matthew Boyd's name's been thrown around for years and years and years as somebody that could help a team as a 3rd or 4th starter. Of course, you got the middle infielders, Jonathan Scope having a big year for the Tigers. Robbie Grossman has 13 home runs. He hit the leadoff home run that turned out to be the only run for them against the Twins, game 1 of the doubleheader on Sunday. So there's a lot of possibilities in the American League Central in terms of trade prospects to go with. All right, moving on with the betting lines here. Tampa Bay, we talked about these high betting lines. We just talked about Baltimore, how bad they are. Ryan Yarbrough versus Spencer Watkins, 270 for the Tampa Bay Rays. You're going to take 270? Spencer Watkins has given up runs. They're in Tampa. 9 seems a little bit because Yarbrough pitches really well against the Orioles. So we'll have to see how that goes. Very interesting matchup in Texas. Both these teams are going nowhere, but you got to think Kyle Gibson on showcase. As we talked about, Casey Mize, one of the best arms that the Tigers system has right now. He and Spencer Turnbull, the two guys that they're going to build around from a pitching staff standpoint. It's an even game. Both are 105, so you can say either one's a favorite. Kyle Gibson for the Rangers, 6-1 this year. He's going up against Casey Mize, 105 the line, basically a pick 'em, 9 the total in Detroit. And that'd be pretty tough to go over. I would have to look at the under there if Casey Mize is going to have a good game. He hasn't been going more than 4 innings or 5 innings, so that's where it gets a little scary. And then the Houston Astros, who just came off their series with the White Sox. A lot of people think the American League preview is going to be the White Sox and the Astros. Boston may have something to say about that. The Tampa Bay Rays certainly have something to say about that. The Oakland A's definitely have something to say about that as well, too. Houston, another $2 favorite, Zach Greinke against Mejia tonight. Cleveland, we said, got the two wins in Oakland over the weekend. They're going to go visit Houston. Zach Greinke back at home. They play well at home, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then finally, in the American League tonight in Oakland, the A's coming off their two losses with the Cleveland Indians. The LA Angels coming off their weekend as well too with Seattle. Is it with Seattle? Yeah, with Seattle. They lost 2 out of 3 to Seattle Saturday and Sunday. Shohei Ohtani gets a start against the A's. He's been pretty successful against the A's, so he's going to pitch and hit probably tonight. Cole Irvin, the left-hander for the A's, they've struggled a little bit. They are 4 of their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. The Angels lost Saturday. Lost Sunday. They won Saturday and lost Friday night. So they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Mariners. The Mariners off tonight. They are on a roll a little bit. They're 6 games back as we hit the American League West. Houston, 56-38. The A's 3.5 back, 4 back in the loss column. Astros 5-5 in their last 10. The A's 4-6 in their last 10. Seattle Mariners 6 out of their last 10, 6-4. They won their game on Sunday on the road as an underdog against the Angels. And the Angels 9 back. They're 500. Don't know if they're sellers. What do you think, everybody? Are they sellers or are they buyers? I'm not really sure. And then, of course, the Texas Rangers. We talked about them and all the guys that they have on there. 20.5 back, 35-58 in the standings for the Texas Rangers. But right now, Houston, Oakland. I'll even put Seattle in there because 6 games back, Oakland struggled. Houston just lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. So the next time the Astros and Mariners play, it could be a good series, and it could end up kind of the same scenario. The Blue Jays and the Red Sox are in. Toronto 6 back. They've got 3 with Boston right now this week, as we said. And so maybe 4. We'll look it up later, and we'll get it back to you during the week. But definitely at least a 3-game series against the Red Sox this week. And then you've got Seattle. You've got Seattle fighting it out with Oakland and the Angels in the wild card for the American League. The wild card for the American League is Tampa Bay and Oakland, the top 2 spots in the wild card. Oakland 3 back of Tampa Bay, but they're in the second wild card spot. Toronto, Seattle, Cleveland. Toronto and Seattle are 2.5 back of the A's for the second wild card spot. Cleveland is 3.5 back. The Yankees are 3.5 back. The Angels are 5.5 back. They're in the same division. And then it goes down from there. Detroit 9.5 back, and everybody else double digits. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But this will be a big game. NorCal, SoCal again. This time in Oakland. Cole Irvin versus Shohei Ohtani. And that'll do it for the American League Baseball. A lot to talk about in baseball this week. The trading deadline, July 31st. Big matchups this week. We're not even to August 1st yet. The trading deadline ends on July 31st. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. All right, 30 seconds more. The world-famous unsponsored pick segment comes up on the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vadaparty, your solo host, your humble host here on this Monday afternoon, July 19th, 2021. Back in 30. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast, July 19th, 2021. Vasu Vadaparty solo act here. Last 5 minutes, we'll get to our pick segment here. Just want to recap nationally. We've got some good games this week, good series this week. Dodgers, Giants, highlight that series as well, too. Cubs, Cardinals, always a good series for you folks out there in Chicago and St. Louis. Not good year standings-wise right now as you're looking up at the Milwaukee Brewers and the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati has the Mets come in this week. The Mets are in first place in their division. So we got the Mets, Brewers, Giants barely in the West. And then you've got the Red Sox, the White Sox, and Astros in the American League. Tampa Bay, Oakland lead the wild card in the American League. And then you've got the Dodgers and Padres lead the wild card in the National League. San Diego 5.5 up on Cincinnati and 6 up on Philadelphia, 7.5 up on Cincinnati, on Chicago and St. Louis. So those are your wild card stand. And then 8 up on Atlanta as well, too. So Atlanta, they're going to have to win the division. There's a lot of Eastern Division teams there in the National League that still think they have a chance to win the division because the wild card may be out of reach when you're trying to talk about the Dodgers and the Giants and the Padres and whoever else I mentioned there too, Cincinnati, Philadelphia as well too. I think I'm sold on Philadelphia a little bit. I think they're about ready to explode. They had a good weekend over the weekend. So the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be my team of the week to get hot, and I think the Toronto Blue Jays will get hot this week in Buffalo. That part gives up a lot of runs. Nick Pivetta on the mound, he's given up a few runs as well too. All right, pick segment, as we said, as promised. As I look up and down here on the list, I am going to go with the first game of the Minnesota Twins Chicago White Sox. I know it's a heavy number to go with. Lance Lynn minus 220 over the Minnesota Twins and Griffin Jax. I love that name. Griffin Jax. Lance Lynn minus 220. It's a little heavy load to go with. White Sox on a roll right now after taking 2 out of 3 from the Astros. The Toronto Blue Jays, Ross Stripling against Nick Pivetta. Red Sox struggling right now. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Yankees over the weekend. Toronto on a 4-game winning streak. Toronto on a 4-game winning streak. 130 the line for Toronto. I would also consider that over. You have to check the social media pages. We'll have another post at 6 Eastern. Hopefully, Charlie, if he's got some picks, will let me know as well, too. 270 is a lot to lay for Tampa Bay, but I got a feeling that 270 is going to be pretty good for Tampa. They're on a roll right now, 8 of their last 10. The over is tempting in this game, too, but it's not one of the higher games I have on this list. The Detroit Tigers just swept the Minnesota Twins, and I said the Minnesota Twins have been garbage this whole year. They throw the ball around too much. Their defense is horrible. Their starting pitching has been okay. Their relief pitching, they haven't had enough opportunities to get to the good relief pitchers, and they are looking to sell off their pieces. Nelson Cruz, Josh Donaldson, all these guys there. So Minnesota got swept by the Tigers over the weekend. Casey Mize, one of the Tigers' arms, we said that's going to be there. Kyle Gibson on the mound for the Rangers. He had a rough start, his last start on the road against the Angels, against the Mariners, and I think for that reason I might have to lean toward Casey Mize, although this game really has an under tendency at 9 under. So that's an under game, Casey Mize and Kyle Gibson. Zach Greinke at minus 205 over Giancarlo Mejia and the Cleveland Indians. I think they get back right after their series with the Chicago White Sox over the weekend in Chicago. Zach Greinke, big game pitcher, always finds a way to come back and win in terms of getting these things together. And then tonight, I'm going to go with the over in the Angels athletics game. I know the Marine Layer and the cold night in Oakland, but over 8 is the way to go with the Oakland A's. So those are the picks that we have. Again, one of the games starts at 5:10. Let me run through it again. The White Sox don't really have anything in the American League, and the National League tonight. We'll let you know at 6 Eastern if we have more picks to go on. I'm really looking at that Dodgers-Giants game as well, too. All right, you can join us Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays, 3 Eastern on Mondays, noon Eastern on Thursdays, 1 Eastern on Fridays. That's 12 o'clock on the West Coast Monday, 9 a.m. Thursday mornings, and 10 o'clock on Friday mornings here on the West Coast, as we want to let everybody know. Thanks to everybody on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Download, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you get your podcasts if you miss any of the podcasts. I'm Vasu Vadaparty. We'll have podcast minutes during the week. Charlie O will join me on Thursday. We'll either have an NBA champion when we talk to you on Thursday for a full show, or we'll have a Game 7 on Thursday night. Have a great afternoon. Good luck with all your games. Vasu Vadaparty, Make the Money and Run podcast, July 19, 2021. Take care, everybody. Have a good afternoon.